Why am I the only one here that doesn't know what they're doing? Hello everyone, welcome back to Adventures in Networking. I'm James West.
And I'm Kelly West. We're the founders of In Networking, the business network for people who like people.
Absolutely. In this episode, we're going to be talking about something that we hear variations of a lot. Networking doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, and if that's you, well, don't worry. It's not your fault. Networking is one of the most misunderstood business skills. And today we're going to explore why it can go wrong and how to make it work for you.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, we've got a huge thank you, haven't we, Kelly, for our sponsor, Bibby Financial Services. So if you don't know Bibby Financial Services, they are one of the UK's largest independent SME funders, helping businesses with finance and foreign exchange for more than 40 years. You can learn more bibbyfinancialservices.com/only, ONLE. And you can have a chat with them if you want to talk about business finances, or indeed if you need any other help with your business. Thank you, Bibby. So, Kelly, let's jump in. The first thing to talk about, if networking fails or disappoints or in some way doesn't give you what you would hope it would give, the first thing to say, to a degree, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
To a point, and I think the point here to make is that there's no shortcut. I think there's a tendency now, as with a lot of activities, that we just think we're going to be good at it straight off the bat. There's a lot to learn, and we've spent a long time networking, haven't we, Kelly? And I've never found some other business activity or discipline that you can draw a direct parallel with.
No.
There's probably something around, if you've been taught sales and how to have open conversations and things like that, that probably gives you a head start. But I think the point is that everyone has to learn. And as long as all the time, the faster that you accept that there's going to be a learning curve for you to get better at networking, the more comfortable and the happier you're going to be. Fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's like learning a new language. You're not going to be fluent on day one. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to forget things. You're going to have to repeat bits, and you're going to have to find your way, aren't you? It's a good point that you raised there. There isn't really a direct comparison. You know, there's not like there's a manual on the shelf that's going to be one size fits all, because it depends on you, it depends on your personality, it depends on what you're selling. There's lots of different factors, aren't there? So it's making sure that you utilize it to the best of your abilities. And then obviously you can have networking education to help you with the skills, but a lot of that stuff comes down to you as a person, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So what was your first experience? Did it feel natural or was it weird? Can you remember?
Weird. Yeah. Thank you. It was quite a long time ago. It was about 25 years ago, if not more. I can remember somebody coming up to me saying, I was a travel counsellor then. So, oh gosh, you should come along to my business networking group. And I remember thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about. Wasn't a concept I'd ever thought of before. Came from corporate world, worked for Thomas Cook for 10 years. So, you know, what does that mean? What do you do in that space? And just couldn't really get my head around it to begin with. And walked into a B&I room for first ever networking meeting. I was terrified, to be honest. But the one thing that made me keep going back was the people. People were really nice. And I thought, well, if nothing else, I'm meeting some nice people. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and I'm doing something a little bit different. So, no, it felt totally surreal, a little bit weird. Lots of people talk about networking like a cult. People that don't like networking often will say it feels cult-like. And I suppose on that first walking into that room, yeah, you do think, oh gosh, everybody else has got this. They're all part of this thing, and I don't know if I'll ever fit into that space. That's probably how it felt the first time. What about you?
Cliquey, isn't it? It
Cliquey.
can feel cliquey. Everyone, right? I wrote a blog about this recently. You know, why am I the only one here that doesn't know what they're doing? Yeah. And I think the point is that you're not, you won't be, and everyone that ever goes to networking will feel like that. There's an element there that's down to the network and the members of that network to make you feel more at home. But there is a comfort zone thing that I think you have to overcome at some point, don't you? I've told this before, you know, I first went networking because I needed to make sales. So that was at the forefront of my mind. Why am I having these chats with these people that don't seem to want to buy from me? What's the point? You know, and it's a good devil's advocate way of looking at it, because I think that's what people think. What's the point in speaking to that person? They're not going to buy from me. So it immediately feels abstract and out of step with most things that we do in business that have a straight line. If I do this, I'm hopefully going to get to here, and networking doesn't feel like that. So I didn't make sales. I didn't go back again. And it was my accountant, Andrew Black, who said, you really need to take a long-term view of it, come back, relax a bit, have some conversations, and that's when it will start to open up. He was right. Absolutely. And for me, the key was when I stopped trying to sell and I just started asking people questions about their business, their pain points, their successes. And that's when the conversations open up. What were you going to say?
Well, I think just as you were talking, it also dawned on me that we have to, if you go into it from a negative standing point, you are going to look for things that aren't perfect. Oh, maybe I don't like that person over there, or maybe the leader doesn't quite hit the marks, or the format of the meeting's not quite right, or the this. Like, there's endless opportunities, isn't there? But I think to make networking work for you, you've got to realise it doesn't matter what's any situation in life, never perfect, is it? You've got to look for the best in those spaces. So it's about making sure that you are performing optimally, you are in the best possible space for you, and you are seeing the opportunity to be a version of you that other people want to be around. And then good things happen as a result of it. So I think trying to make it perfect, which I hear a lot of people say, well, yeah, but there's a person there that I don't really get on with. So what? There's probably 20 people in the room. Let them fade into the background. You know, there's always one, isn't there? Or, yeah, but I'm not sure. I think we have to overlook these things because there are so many networking opportunities around, aren't there? It doesn't really matter what banner is above it. It's about bringing people together. And ultimately, that's what networking is about.
I think you're right. Looking for the perfect network. Who's got the perfect blend of my potential buyers and those really helpful for me? It doesn't exist. And it also misses the point of networking, which is often about connections of connections. Well, that takes us on to the second point that we wanted to make, that we tend to, when we begin, we treat networking like prospecting. So what do we mean by that? Pitch to enough people and you'll get sales. Oh, and I think that's where the idea of, well, yeah, but I've pitched to those people and they didn't buy, therefore the problem is the network. I need a different set of people to pitch to.
Yeah. Well, you can't prospect until you've proven a demand for what you're offering. Simple as that, isn't it? If you don't know what you're selling and you don't know what people want, how can you prospect for it? But networking leads to sales by opening up conversations in a way that prospecting just cannot do. We talk about prospecting versus networking quite a lot, don't we? And I think you tend to see the prospecting more from business representatives, not so much business owners. You don't see. So it might be salespeople for bigger companies, or, you know, typically IT firms or software, that kind of thing. When I see people like that in networking, and this is a massive umbrella statement, I appreciate, they are out there prospecting because they have a KPI on their back and they need to go and they need to bring the numbers in. That's prospecting. So they're not so much open for a conversation and a relationship build, because to them they're selling a license of software or whatever it is and they don't really care. They move on to the next person. That for me is a typical prospecting sort of journey. You still do see it within business owners that are kind of out there to get a return on investment because they've paid money into a network, so therefore they're going to get their, you know, their pound signs back out of it. But realistically, which is going to work better? And as you quite rightly say, James, you know, what damage do you do by prospecting versus the relationship build?
Yeah, so let's just be clear. Prospecting, what do we mean by prospecting? Like cold calling, or we see it a lot on LinkedIn now, don't we? The kind of speculative connection request. Oh, would you like to buy this thing? And we naturally kind of shun it and kind of go, oh, not another one. But that people wouldn't do that if it didn't work to a degree. But I can almost guarantee you're going to get a very low rate of return on that kind of activity. And it is a volume game. Like if I send that message to 100 people, eventually someone might go, do you know what? You've landed on the perfect day and I might be interested in that conversation. That's prospecting. But prospecting can only work if you've ever had a cold call or someone do that via LinkedIn. they know their product, they know the messaging that is likely to work for people like you, and they know that it has sold to people like you provably. I think what we see a lot of networking, Kelly, is people that they haven't sold a lot of what they do and they're still trying to prospect. They're just, if I keep saying that thing, look, well, I can do this, or I've done this, and it's not necessarily a particularly identifiable product, and then it doesn't work. What should they do instead, I suppose, is the key question there.
I think the point there is you're trying to skip a few steps, aren't you? So you've got this thing, I've got this product or service. I don't really want to have to talk to too many people about it or build a relationship or, raise too much awareness about it, but I want to go straight over here and I want to get the sale. And I'm not too concerned about that bit in the middle. That tips more into that prospecting space, doesn't it? And like you say, the volume game. Well, if I speak to 1,000 people, surely at least 1% of them buy it, then that's great. You might annoy 99% of the other people that then won't come back, who may naturally do so in a relationship first space. I actually saw a post on LinkedIn yesterday. I meant to say this to you. It was titled, "Never Go Networking for Business Again." I thought, oh, this is interesting. Let's have a look at that. It was basically a piece of LinkedIn lead generation software. Okay. Basically saying, why waste your time going out and talking to people when all you can do is sit behind this bit of software and we do all of that hard work for you, right? And I actually read quite a few of the comments. I scrolled and got into that death scroll, where you just keep going. And I did not see one positive comment. Now, that to me shows a shift in people's actions. And everybody was saying, but I don't go networking necessarily to get a sale. I go networking to speak to people, to test my messaging, to find out what people want. Like that again is the difference. Do you want to actually have a conversation with people? Because let's face it, getting that conversation in the first place is quite hard. So when you're in front of someone, why are you not utilizing that to the best of your abilities rather than wasting that as a missed opportunity and just seeing as it another number?
It's not wrong, is it?
No,
it's just a different approach to the same thing. And if you're someone that's like, do you know what? I don't really care about, I just want the number. And prospecting, which I wouldn't particularly do via networking because it would be very inefficient.
Yes.
Use LinkedIn for it, use cold calling, use social media, that kind of thing. The difference is it is a high volume, low yield activity, whereas networking, when done right, is a high input but high output activity. So when you get good at networking, it's like a pre-qualification, isn't it? You're having a lot of conversations with people, but you're not bothering to sell to the people that are never going to buy. But what you are doing is kind of briefing the people that you meet to be able to sell on your behalf when the opportunity arises. And that becomes actually a very efficient way to gain business, isn't it? I mean, your BNI example, Kelly, how many people were in your group that gave you 73% of your business?
8 people.
8 people.
8 people for about 18 months. And I got 74% of my business from it. Not because they all went on lots of holidays, because they all trusted me and they all liked me. And we formed relationships. And over time, they might tell 10 people about me, 20 people, 30 people. One of them may not have told anyone, but that's that network growth, isn't it? We've also got to remember that prospecting is really hard, and you do need thick skin because people don't appreciate it. That's why we've got a couple of amazing telemarketers in the network. They enjoy doing that. They know how to handle those situations. That's their zone of genius, So why wouldn't you use somebody like that could do that for you specifically? When you're speaking to people and you're coming across well and you're building a rapport and you're building a relationship and you connect, you relax, right? And when you relax, you form deeper relationships. And then what happens? You become closer, you become more connected, and you'll often get referrals months or even years later because you will just keep going deeper into that conversation, I met a guy yesterday. In the first 10 minutes, didn't know anything about his business, but I knew loads about his life. I've thought about him loads in the last 24 hours because of some of the things he shared, the things we talked about. I will go out of my way to connect him with people when I can, because I really got on well with him and I really liked him. That's the difference.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so third reason why networking might fail. There's quite a few of these.
Quite a few of them, yeah.
The logic of networking is upside down, counterintuitive. Basically, to get the thing that you want, you have to give first. So we want to extract, but you have to give first in order to get value from networking. Kelly?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got waylaid by Bernie's question there, which is a really good one. Yeah, it is counterintuitive, and that feels tough when you're under pressure. But generosity is how you build trust and opportunities. That's how that grows. Okay, giving first in order to receive. You know, we talk about this all the time. It comes down to something you talk about, credit. We're all noisy, aren't we? We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want people to support us, follow us, like and share our posts, do all of that stuff. But if we opened up our Instagram account, LinkedIn account, whatever it is, and we had 10 people follow us, what we're probably going to do, we're going to probably follow them back, aren't we? That's us. That's that person taking the initiative, isn't it? And giving first. So be that person. You know, don't continuously. I see this quite a lot in networking. Oh, I want more followers on my YouTube channel. Yeah, so do I. So does everybody in that room. I want more followers on LinkedIn. We'll take that initiative and connect with the people that you're in the room with first, because they'll reciprocate. You know, and that is how you give credit to gain credit, isn't it?
Let's bring Bernie's comment up. That's distracted you there. It's a good question. We talk about this on one of our educations, don't we? Within about 10 seconds is the answer to that question. Can you spot a successful networker? There's a couple of key points, isn't there, Kelly? I think if you're listening, Bernie's question is, can you spot a successful networker? You can tell by their attitude when they come into the room. Are they listening? Have they got, I think a lot of people bring baggage into networking from other networking experiences, and or they've had a bad day or things aren't going well for them. So if you come into a room, if they're negative, if they're not particularly looking at the screen, if they're not smiling at the same point as other people, they're probably going to struggle, aren't they? That's because we don't respond, we don't connect with those people. They're just, there's a negativity, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think people are not that forgiving. I think, you can turn a blind eye to a small amount of that behaviour, but it tips over very quickly, doesn't it, when everybody else in the room is playing the game and being attentive and nodding and smiling and laughing in all the right places. That one person that maybe doesn't, it does sort of fail very quickly. We have to remember, we don't know what's going on in people's lives at that moment. So, I always say to people, you benefit the doubt, listen until proven guilty. But if that person continuously behaves that way, but I would say, James, I don't think we even need 10 seconds. I think, and it's not what you would think. It's not the biggest, loudest, brashest, most confident person in the room. Definitely not. Definitely not. It's a combination of lots of things. You can tell very quickly if somebody is going to be a good networker or not.
I think the other flash point is the intro. People that talk too much and waffle and try and cram everything in, and it's imprecise. You can tell the difference. The people that have got a nice sort of 10, 20 second, this is me, this is what I'm about, this is who it's for, move on, are more experienced, because they know that less is more, and they know that they need time to actually ask questions. They've just stuck a nice little sign next to them. This is what I'm about, but I'm actually here, and you'll hear it when, in our meetings, there's other chances to speak, the only actions where you share your contribution. The people that are actively trying to help, jumping in, all right, I know that person, or I could make that connection for you, or please share the link because I want to support that. It's the people that are showing, for want of a better word, a kind of community orientation. It's stuff like that, isn't it? The people that just go on and just keep going, well, if anyone knows anyone who wants my services 10 different ways in a 2-minute period, they're the ones that are probably going to struggle, aren't they?
clear, concise, clean message, confident in what they say. You know, you can get that across in 20 seconds, can't you? But again, you don't need to be confident to be a successful networker. You don't. You know, you could be the quietest person in the room, say hardly anything, and you can still be successful. So there's lots of things to think about in that space, isn't there?
We need listeners. We need more listeners.
We need more listeners. Yes.
Okay, next. We want a quick result, but it's often a slower burn networking. And I think this is to do with, we've been conditioned now, haven't we, to chase quick wins. We see a lot about crack the algorithm, build the perfect funnel. But networking's kind of the antithesis of that, because it's a lot more organic, isn't it? What's your thoughts, Kelly?
Yeah, well, basically, when you stop forcing it and focus on building real relationships, that's when things start to happen. Like it's the same with any friendship, isn't it? You can't force it. It's either going to happen naturally and you've got to find a way forward from there, or you move on and you make friends with someone else. You can't keep...
What would you say to someone that says, oh yeah, but networking takes too long? What would the retort to that be?
What's too long? I mean, this goes into that space of it's different for everyone. I would be amazed if, unless you're selling something that's low cost, easy access, that every other person in the world needs, you're not getting sales at networking straight away. You're just not. In-person networking, florists used to be the equivalent of this. You could guarantee the florist in the room would get some business every week because it would be somebody's birthday, Christmas, anniversary or something. That doesn't happen now, right? That's not the case anymore. You have to build that trust.
There should be an online equivalent, shouldn't there? If you can sell a consumable, you should be saying, get your orders in for the weekend. Little tip there.
Well, I mean, even now, some people that are in that space are just too busy around the prominent times of the year to go networking because they're full of orders. Again, that's another conversation, but you need to think about that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent there. It takes time, and it depends on how much effort you're putting in, how many conversations you're having, how much time you're dedicating to further educate your network, build ambassador friendships and relationships, and what you're asking for. You know, if you're asking me for introductions to other like-minded people that you think I'm going to get on with, I can do that now. You know, I could have a half an hour conversation with you and I can give you 10 names. If you're asking me to give you potential clients for a £10,000 coaching program, you know, you're probably going to be waiting a few months for that to happen, because you've got to build that trust with your network first before those sorts of introductions are going to happen. And if that's too slow, sorry, I don't know where else you could go and do that. Go and buy the magic course that gives you 6-figure business in 6 days on Instagram and see if that works.
Well, I think this is the point, isn't it? And have you done, did you crack the algorithm? Have you built the perfect funnel? Because people haven't, have they? I think that's the point, that people are, I've said this before, but I do think a lot of digital marketing gets a free pass, that we don't really account for how long we will spend on platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, website, email marketing. We spend hours and hours and hours churning this stuff out, often with no discernible empirical outcome. Yet we question networking because it doesn't give us an instant result, but not the digital equivalent. I think there's got to be a little rebalancing of, well, yeah, but what do you deem to be a result?
That is a really good point. You know, look at your social media, take your channels, think about how long you've been on them, how much time and effort, energy, input that you give them, how many relationships have you built through there successfully, how many sales have you sold through those channels successfully, and compare that to your networking efforts. I guarantee you will have more time effectiveness over here in the relationship build networking space than over here, I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay. Simon Raybold said about, not sure you can, because we were talking about, can you tell if someone's a good networker or not from in the room? And he's saying, well, no, because you wouldn't see the follow-up.
Yeah.
That is a very good point. And I think Simon's right. A lot of people are maybe, we have met people, haven't we, Kelly, that don't seem mega committed to the meeting itself, maybe because they've done a lot of networking and they tend to come alive when they're in the one-to-one and they can spot an opportunity and things like that. Yes, of course, we wouldn't know whether they're particularly good at that. But I do think it gives people's behavior in a networking meeting gives a good window into how they behave as a networker, because if they're detached, disinterested, waffle, don't have a clear call to action, I'd be very surprised if then that miraculously was fully formed and polished when you got into a one-to-one with them.
Yeah, well, backpedal a bit there. Is anybody actually going to ask you for a one-to-one if you're not looking particularly interested or present in the meeting? No, probably not. But I do agree with Simon. You don't get the cookies are not so good when you have your one-to-ones in the online space, are they? Perhaps that's a business idea. I've just come up with a business idea. Thanks, Simon. We should send out cookies for people to have one-to-ones with. There we go.
Yeah, don't quit the day job, Kelly. It's not your best idea. I've heard you have.
Okay.
Here's an interesting one. We've forgotten how to connect, we've forgotten how to have conversations. We were talking about this earlier, Kelly, weren't we?
Yeah.
I think we've spent, and we are huge fans of the online world, the ability to connect, online networking, etc. But I think the reason we've been successful is that we've always realized that you've got to keep up the ability to have actual conversations with people. I think, is there a tendency now, Kelly, for people to go, oh, I don't need, which goes back to the thing about it's too slow, it's too ponderous, I haven't got time to have conversations. What I want to do is build this funnel machine that just means I don't really have to talk to anyone. All of the right prospects come to my door. They still don't want to talk to me, and they're going to write a check, sign up for a huge direct debit without a conversation. Are we out of practice having conversations, Kelly?
Yeah, massively. I think we've got a lot to remember from networking days of old. If you're selling B2B services, conversations are unavoidable. Like that, people are not buying that stuff off the shelf. They're not. They want a conversation with you. You're a small fish in a big pond quite often now. None of us are unique in our businesses, and the only way people can differentiate between who they want to buy is to find out the person behind the product, service, etc. They want to talk to you. So relax and open chats, they'll lead to the best opportunities, because if I've got two potential service providers and one of them just wants to keep spamming me with stuff and doesn't necessarily want to have a conversation with me, but then person B over here is very open and wants to book in a one-to-one and have a conversation, find out what my needs are, where's my business going? It's going over here, isn't it? Because that person's making me feel special. I think we forget we are selling to people. And we buy with emotions. We make choices based on our emotions and how we feel aligned with people. And if we can't play into that emotional space, we have no hope of building those relationships and making those sales.
Have people got more, and I think, as a direct consequence of COVID, people stopped having as many conversations. Have people become, and because this whole thing about, well, if I get the right message and I build the right funnel, have people become too broadcasty? They've forgotten just how to have a back and forth conversation. We've seen this, haven't we? We've noticed this recently.
Yeah, definitely. I would, even myself, I think, probably went through a period of being a little bit insular and not wanting to open up too much, because we just got used to being in our own spaces, didn't we? I do think we've lost that art of communication, and we've got it back to a degree, but we've sort of forgotten what the point of that was in the first place. It doesn't matter if you do it online or in person. I'm with you, James. Like, we've done so much online now. I don't want to go back to in person. That doesn't mean that I don't want to see people that I want to see in person and have a coffee and a cake with them when it suits me. But I want to do that more personally, not necessarily for networking now, because I can do that really successfully on here. I was talking to this guy yesterday, and he loves online networking, and he said, I don't know why people don't. And we were talking about it, and I think there's been that whole, well, we don't have a choice, so we've got to stay online, back to, well, no, we can go in person now, so we'll forget online. And now it's come back round again to, actually, why am I doing that and wasting all that time and effort and energy when I can do it successfully here? Because I think part of that conversation piece is you have to feel comfortable to open up to people and to have a true conversation. If you're in your own space, in your own environment, you feel more comfortable. You are probably going to open up a little bit more and feel more relaxed in that way.
I feel like there's a tendency now where there's like an energy of when you give people the opportunity to speak, they offload. It's like, oh, great, I can finally speak. And we've definitely noticed that whereas 5-10 years ago, networking, there was very much a give and take, people kind of monopolized 10-15 minutes of the conversation, and then they would always catch themselves. It was very rare, wasn't it, Kelly, that someone didn't catch themselves and go, oh, I've talked a lot about me, I need to ask you some questions. Now I'm finding more and more calls, people don't even bother catching themselves, which I think speaks volumes to I just need to say all this stuff. But the problem is you choke a conversation if there's no back and forth. And what we're trying to get to is a point where we relax enough and we create an open conversation. That's where the opportunities come from, not by just brain dumping your entire website and life story onto someone. That doesn't work.
There will always be people that will do that. There will always be that will do that. But that just means us as listeners need to get a little bit braver and going, oh, can I stop you there? We've only got 10 minutes left. Do you mind if I just tell you a little bit more about me? Because, we need to think about this as a mutually beneficial relationship. Do you know what I mean? So I think we have to take the onus on ourselves to move conversations like that forward, rather than come off the call and go, well, that was a waste of bloody time. All they did was monologue at me for the entire duration, because when that's going to happen. So take that into your own hands, because 9 times out of 10, if you say that to somebody, they will go, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. They'll start to wrap up. You'll probably then speak for 30 seconds and they'll go off again. But, at least acknowledging it is the thing. There's quite a few comments here.
Yeah, I'll just bring up Bridget makes a really good point. You have to talk to people to build trust first. No one will choose to collaborate. Otherwise, absolutely. So why do we try? This is the point, isn't it, Bridget? I see so much at the moment of it feels like an endeavor to engineer the conversation out, because that's the inefficient bit. Now, that's the key bit. Streamline everything around it. Shorthand other things. You can automate to a degree, but it should be in building up to more conversations, not less. And I think that's where people go wrong. Bernie said about, is networking like advertising? You can't predict which bit will work, but if you do enough, you'll get enough positive results. Yes, to the bit about you can't always predict. You certainly can't predict what day or what connection will lead you to a networking result, because it's often, we talk about the networking serendipity, because you don't know everyone's background, who their best friend is, where they previously worked. So definitely there's an unpredictability there. The one bit of that statement that I would challenge, and I know you haven't done this on purpose, Bernie, but I think it's a point worth raising. If you do enough, you'll get enough positive results. That bit I don't agree with. I think there is a tendency for people to think, well, networking doesn't work. I'll go to other networks. I'll do more of it. The key here is you need to get better at doing networking, because, someone like myself, Kelly, certainly, when you are good at networking, you can go pretty much to any networking event and you will get results. You will build connections that will either short-term or long-term lead to opportunities. So it isn't doing more, it's doing it better.
Yeah, more of the right stuff, doing more will lead to more stuff, definitely. But exactly. not just doing exactly that. Stuart's just put a good point in there as well. Is there also a potential benefit to think less is more in networking conversations to widen a discussion naturally? Definitely. Less is more in introductions, 100%. You say this, James, don't you? Nobody's ever going to complain and go, God, that James doesn't say much when he does his introduction. What happens is those that say the least in their introductions piques people's interest, and they then want to have a one-to-one with you because they want to find out more. But definitely, I mean, I do this all the time. I've managed to get my sort of, when somebody says, oh, tell me about you, I get that down to about 4 or 5 minutes versus somebody who goes, well, when I was 12, and then they take me through their entire, you know, I love, because I love all of that stuff and I find it very interesting. Don't need all of that at once. That is, use all of that information over multiple conversations so you build that rapport over a period of time. So I absolutely do agree with that, Stuart. I think less is more. People are bombarded at the best of times, so don't add to that. Don't make their space even noisier, because all they do is just forget and go, oh, shut off now, I'm overloaded, I don't need to know anymore, therefore I'll forget you. So what's the key bits of information that you need to give them?
Right, let the conversation breathe. Simon's going back to that point about people that monologue. Are they really people that we want to work with? Yeah, Simon's right. I mean, this is the human nature thing, isn't it? That the nice cozy thing to say is like, you know, oh, you don't have to show up at the best version of you, and it doesn't matter if you waffle, but it does, because that's human nature. People do make judgments on someone. Is that someone that I want to spend time with? Is that someone who's consistent, reliable, does what they say they're going to do? This is the sort of the secondary consideration. We cannot work with all of the people that we network with. It'd be impossible. You wouldn't have enough time, let alone money, to validate by working with people personally.
Yeah.
But what we do is build a picture of them based on the type of person they are. And that's why networking attendance is important. Are they someone who just turns up now and again, puts half a foot in the door, or is this someone who's actually here for me, for this community, talking about their topic and is really serious about their business? That's the kind of thing that we can make a judgment on, isn't it? So
definitely, yeah, good point, Simon.
We better have a quick pause there. We need to give a shout out to Bibby, because we haven't covered that off yet. So yeah, Bibby Financial Services. If you don't know what those guys do, we've said this earlier, but they are the UK's largest independent SME funders, and they are, like us, a lot bigger though, long-established family business. So they've been provided specialist and adaptable working capital finance and foreign exchange solutions to businesses for more than 40 years. Rated excellent on Trustpilot. Today, they support over 8,500 clients across 9 countries. Kelly.
Yep. So if your business is looking to improve cash flow, invest in new equipment, refinance even existing assets, or trade internationally, visit bibbyfinancialservices.com/only. Simon wants us to repeat that Simon's right bit, because I think he wants to record that for his wife, just to prove that
Simon wasn't right. Simon's never right. There you go. You can have that as a soundbite. Simon Raybold is never right. Keep that clean.
You can edit that bit out.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we need to pick up the pace, so we'll just skim some of these, but there is some important stuff here. Why does networking fail? We only show up when we're desperate. What happens when we go networking when we've got to get business, Kelly?
Yeah, it's about consistency. People trust those who show up, contribute, and are not just there when they need something. And you can spot it a mile off. Okay, it's not. I don't like to class it as a negative way to behave, because
stop being so nice.
Business. Oh, I am nice. I'm never not going to be nice. You can be nice about it and come across in a good way, but it will be spotted a mile off, and people will back away from you because they'll be worried that they're going to get hooked into a sale that they don't necessarily want or need, or you're going to pressurize them to give you introductions and potential referrals, and it won't happen naturally. The worst networking behavior is to start when you're absolutely desperate and it's the last resort. That's hard. That's tough. Okay, because it puts so much pressure on you to perform. And then the second, well, maybe that's the second worst. And the first worst is leaving when you're busy. And it blows my mind why people leave a network when they're busy, because without fail, 6 months later, you've then got to rebuild again when you're quiet, and you've got to build all of that hard work back up again that you've put in for 6 months. It's consistency. Show up, say your bit, have the conversations, see the same people. There's a reason you see the same people every week, every month. Okay, we talk about this all the time. Interact with the visitors, grow the network, build it naturally, and opportunities will arise. Either partnerships, collaborations, like Bridget said, there's a lot to be said for those. Referrals directly, business directly, whatever it may be, that stuff will only come with consistency.
Definitely. Okay, we expect, this is the 7th one, we expect networking to fix deeper problems. We see this a lot, don't we? Well, I've done the social media, I've done the email, I've gone networking, and it's still not working for me. And the problem there is that you've got a disconnect between your offer, your audience. You just don't have a viable kind of product development, a proven product that you're selling consistently.
Yep.
So just turning up at networking and expecting that that's going to suddenly give clarity to your proposition, make people fully understand the value that you offer, doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. If you're not clear and you don't know what you're selling and you don't really know how to message it and it's not working, well, what do you expect? But the good news on the flip side is networking gives you feedback if you're open to adjusting and making changes. Yeah. So you talk about this all the time, James, and people, particularly people that are new to networking, don't think about the ability to use their network as a marketing sense check. Is what I'm saying understandable? Do I use too many acronyms? Am I using language that is right for you if you're my ideal market? What do you want to hear from me? What pain points am I trying to solve for you? You're talking to your potential ideal audience, or the first layer that's going to get you to them. Ask them, is my introduction resonating with you? I can remember the poddy we used to be members of, didn't we, way back when? And we had to go around the room and we had to switch intros, and I had to do somebody's intro. And I did it off pat, just like that. And I sat down and thought, blimey, I knew every word verbatim, but I still don't really understand what they do. Like, what a missed opportunity. If you're saying stuff to people, find out if it resonates. And if it doesn't, tweak it, because you'll get more results from it.
Excellent. Good point. So you don't know what you're asking for. The other way of looking at this is you are making it really difficult for people to help you.
Yeah.
What do you say about that, Kelly?
Yeah, well, do you even know what you're asking for? Really, what is your goal for networking? Are you just looking to have introductions, connections to people that you want to have a conversation with? Are you looking for referrals? Is there a particular company that you're looking to get into? What is it you're looking for? And I think that the thing is, too many people, when asked that question, don't know the answer. Then it's impossible for me to be able to help you. Then you'll tell me networking doesn't work.
Yeah, the true answer for most people is, well, I just want business.
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to go networking, just say, can you give me business? Think about that. That's just not something that I can put on a plate for you. I need to know what type of business, who's it for, who's it suitable for, what does it cost? Like, you can't, it's incredible, isn't it, Kelly, when you say to people, how can I help you? And they go, oh, like, that shouldn't be a difficult question. Well, I'm looking for a connection to any restaurant that you're friends with or you're well connected with, because I've helped them increase their bookings, because I build websites, or I do marketing, or I'm a sales coach, or like, make it easy. And again, we see this at a lot of the meetings, don't we? People go, oh, I've got this event, or I'd love it if you could support this. If you want to know more, get in touch. Like, what's that? Like, what? What do you mean get in touch? Like, can you make it a little bit easier? Any clues there, Kelly?
Well, definitely. I mean, going back to that point that you just said, I was talking to the lovely Lindsay Burden yesterday, and we were saying, weren't we? We quite often, I think when you're really nice at networking and you're really established and you're in a flow, there is a tendency to say, oh, no, I don't need anything. I'm just here to see if I can help you. I say that all the time. Like, no, I just want to help you. I'm the leader of the network. That's fine. Even I've started to change that now. And I've said, well, actually, if you do know a solicitor in the Portsmouth area, we need a solicitor in there. Blow me down. Guess what happens? People want to help you. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's amazing how networking works, because people inherently want to help each other. 99% of people, particularly within the network. So if you can make that easy for someone to help you, it makes them feel good, because that's what they're there for. That's what they want to do for you. And that bit about, too often somebody will say, oh, I put the link to the thing that I want you to do. It's like a few pages back. If you scroll up, no, just put it in the box again. make it easy for me, because even asking people to scroll back through and find something is just a step too far. Like, we're not going to do it, are we? But if it's there and I can click on it, it's easy. I can do that.
Okay, so the final point is your product ladder is missing some runs. So if you're expecting to leap from "it's nice to meet you" to a £5,000 sale, but you've got no steps in between in terms of other product offering, you're making life really hard for yourself, aren't you, Kelly?
Yeah, you are. You need ways for people to engage with you ultimately first, build trust with you, moving through the rungs, and then move naturally towards working with you, whatever that looks like. So it's going to range from freebie, subscribe to my website. You might get a download, you might get a, I don't know, whatever it is you've got on that end of the funnel, through to maybe a month later, another free bit of information or a quiz or something, to then start having paid for services. And, you know, depending on what you do, I guess from a tenner to 50 quid is an easy entrance point. 50 quid to 100 is another step of the ladder, through to your top notch bespoke, all singing, all dancing service. Because quite frankly, if I'm stood at the bottom of this ladder and I'm seeing free and 10,000, I'm not jumping straight to 10,000, am I? I'm going in at the free bit first, and then I'll work my way up to see if I've got the know, like, trust with you in order to spend more.
It's actually worse than that, because we don't even know if it's £5,000. We assume it's £5,000 if you've not said otherwise. And often we'll speak to people and we go, "Oh, well, I'd imagine, you know, that you've really bigged that service up. You know, you're a business mentor and you've worked with multi-million-pound businesses, therefore you're going to be charging £5,000." And they're like, "Oh no, I've got a little mastermind group that's 50 quid a month or £200." And we're like, "Oh, okay, well, if you told me that, I might have had an easier time referring you." But I think we just assume, you know, I've put it on the website or I posted about it once, therefore everyone knows everything that I sell. And you know that that's not true, don't you? I think you intuitively know how many people, how many business owners are you connected to that you know every one of their product offerings, the pricing, who's it for. Of course you don't.
No.
It's your job as the networker to teach other people the low-hanging fruit aspect of that, and keep saying it and keep saying it and build goodwill and keep saying it. Eventually, that's when they'll open doors for you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so if today's episode's got you thinking a bit differently about networking, we've got something special for our listeners. Bernie's been trying to promote this for us.
He has, bless him. Yeah, we're giving you...
Go on.
Sorry, James. He's put a few little teasers in there, hasn't he? But basically, we're giving you early access to our brand new online business networking course ahead of the official launch.
We've worked very hard on this. Everything that we know about networking, we've put into this course. So there's 12 modules. It's a self-paced course. There's a workbook. There's resources. We've crammed everything we know about business networking into this course.
Yeah, you'll gain clarity, confidence, and a proven relationship first approach to turning conversations into opportunities without the feeling of being pushy or lost. And
as a thanks for listening or watching, this is literally the first time we've announced this, isn't it? This is the first version of that. You're going to be sick of it soon, so just get on and buy it now, and then you can mute the rest of our notifications. But we're offering a £25 discount. It's only for a couple of weeks. 13th of May this expires, and we're not going to do a discount again because there's so much value. The course is £99, lifetime access, all of the content, but you can get £25 off using the code OBNC launch. Chuck that in as a discount code. We're going to put the link in the chat if you want to go and grab that course. Yeah, absolutely. I think it has magically appeared there. So yeah. Superb. Good stuff. So just in summary then, to wrap up the show, if networking hasn't worked for you, it's not about doing more, it's about doing it better and thinking a little bit strategically, isn't it? It is. So show up, give first, stay consistent, and that is how networking really works. And get the course, because that will teach you everything as well. Of course. Just a little extra push. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Adventures in Networking. Please subscribe, share the episode of someone who needs to hear it. And thanks again to Bibby Financial Services for supporting the show. We'll see you next time. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening and commenting too. We'll see you soon. Bye.